The Sun newspaper has been criticised for making fun of the way the New England manager Roy Hodgson speaks. Both the Sun and the Daily Mirror printed headlines that made fun of Roy Hodgson's speech impediment.
But is it offensive or just a bit of fun?
Is it really that big a thing? Personally, I don't think so.
We're teachers, and if we made that kind of joke in school, I think we'd probably lose our job.
I don't think it's funny.
The winger on the Euros, they call him Uncle Roy at West Brom. It's just it's nothing, is it?
I think it's inappropriate. I think it's rude.
I think it's offensive personally. I don't think you should be taking the mick out of people for the way they speak. It's not really on, is it?
I think people need to stop being so serious about everything. It's just a pun. It's just a bit of fun.
No, it's all right. I don't think you'd take offence to it, really.
We're joined now by Leys Geddes, who's chairman of the British Stammering Association. What's your reaction to Mickey taking in this way?
Well, I think our reaction as an organisation is that you tend always to put the emphasis on the children, and I think it's interesting to see the article today in the Sun, where they have interviewed Ross and asked him if he thinks it's a joke. And of course he said, nah, it's fine, because he's the kind of guy, he's a celebrity, he gives and takes jokes, he's accustomed to it. But if you asked a child of 4 or 5 years old who isn't able to pronounce its R's or do anything else of that, you would not get the same answer. And those are the people who you are harming. But then the other thing it inclined to do is it gives everyone else in society kind of a permission to take that attitude to anyone who talks strangely. And that is profoundly unhelpful, because we get hardly any time on air, and people don't really understand. And the other thing that is important is that it seems to be okay to take the mickey out of people who can't talk properly, but you wouldn't take it out of them if they were in a wheelchair, yes, or if they were blind, or any obvious thing.
The Sun seem to make the assumption that due to the fact that Jonathan Ross has said what he said, yeah, that it is just poking a little bit of fun. He's not offended.
Exactly.
They're suggesting that Roy Hodgson's not offended. But I mean, I don't know how they know these things, but it's not the point, is it?
Earlier on today, yes, earlier on,
yeah,
I talked to a guy called John Smith, who's a football agent, and he said they're up in arms in that industry, because there is a guy who they all admire, who's been offered the top job, he's taken the top job, and your headline is about a tiny little triviality, how he speaks his R's. What a waste of time. That's totally irresponsible, and it's insulting.
How would you feel? I mean, you have a stammer yourself.
Yeah,
how would you feel if somebody was taking the mickey out of you?
It happens a lot.
On the front page of a paper. It still happens?
It happens a lot, yes, yeah. I mean, for some, if you have a stammer, I mean, there are about 4.5 million people in the country who have some problem or other with how they talk, and that will span from individuals who are unable to pronounce their R's through to Stephen Hawking, for instance, who's unable to talk. And there are people who stammer throughout the whole of the spectrum. A few who are almost fluent, and a few who are almost unable to talk. I mean, I know, because you know, it's always hard opening up a relationship, because people will judge you on your stammer. You look like a fairly ordinary guy. Hey, he's got a stammer, a flaw, you know. And you have to ride over that, but it's not easy. And if it gets you down and you're a child, you know, you get teased as a child. And what happens to you is, you know, a beautiful example of that is if you're a bright child and you're asked to answer in form, you stick your hand up and yes, come on, you know, answer the question, and the child can't answer it. And he feels frustrated.
Yes.
Every other child turns around and stares at him. Is the teacher going to ask him again? Or is he going to be awkward about it?
Okay, well look, thank you for giving us your perspective. Lots of celebrities and famous people have joined in with it.
It's a great opportunity to be here, honostly.
Okay.
That's one bit of good perhaps
because
that's come out of these
ever get them.
Thank you very much.
And we'll continue the debate, because we know there's all sorts of views on this one. So, but now let's get the weather from Lucy.